Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Matthew, and today we're taking a look at the Pokemon trading card game adaptation for Game Boy Color. Quite frankly, I think many video game historians missed just how revolutionary this little title was. It's no secret that there are three big names in trading card games: Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Pokemon. What all three of them have in common are very simple, basic rule sets, with the complexity of the games coming not from those rules, but rather from the cards themselves. With each card potentially having unique and varied effects, it makes it very difficult to actually program a video game around them. Working backwards, Magic was the slowest of the trio to have an accurate video game representation, with Magic the Gathering Online releasing in June of 2002. Yu-Gi-Oh! Had quite a number of video games that released in Japan in the late 90s, however, it wasn't until 2001 that Eternal Duelist Soul released, which was the first game to accurately reflect the real-life card game. However, Pokemon beat them both out by over 2.5 years. In December of 1998, this title released in Japan, accurately recreating the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy Color. Perhaps it gets overlooked a little in the West because we wouldn't get it until after the turn of the millennium, but the fact still remains that it is the first video game of its kind. Does it still hold up today, or was it merely an exemplar for things to come? The basic rules of Pokemon TCG are almost an exact recreation of the card game of the same name. In such, two players will face off against one another, each using a 60 card deck, beginning by flipping a coin to determine the first player. To set up, each player shuffles their deck and draws 7 cards. After that, they place a single basic Pokemon card out to be their active Pokemon. The basic Pokemon is any that doesn't evolve from another, such as the starters Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle. If you have no basic Pokemon, you'll shuffle your entire hand back into your deck and redraw a new hand of 7 cards. Unlike the physical card game, a player does not get to draw 2 extra cards when their opponent redraws their hand like this. Each player may also place up to 5 additional basic Pokemon to form their bench. After choosing starting Pokemon, each player deals out a number of prize cards. A full game uses 6 prizes, though most matches in the Game Boy version will only be played with 2 to 4. Whenever one of your opponent's Pokemon are knocked out, you take one of your prize cards into your hand. If you claim all of your prizes, you've won the match. Turn structure is quite simple and divided into 3 phases. First, you simply draw a card. After that, you have your play phase where you may play cards from your hand. This includes 4 primary types of cards. As before, when you play out a basic Pokemon, you'll simply place it on your bench. You may do this as often as you like in a turn, but may only have a maximum of 5 Pokemon on your bench at a time. If you have any evolution cards in your hand, you may play them on the matching Pokemon. However, a Pokemon must have been on the field for at least 1 full turn before you can evolve it. This means that if you want to evolve a Pokemon twice, such as going from Nidoran male to Nidoking, you'll need to play it out, evolve it into Nidorino the turn after that, and then on the 3rd turn you can evolve Nidorino into Nidoking. The 3rd type of card you can play are trainer cards. Each of these has very different effects, from healing your Pokemon, to drawing extra cards, to forcing your opponent to switch their active Pokemon. There's a great many different things they can do, and you can play these as often as you'd like. Finally, you may play 1 energy card from your hand each turn, attaching it to any of your Pokemon in play. This becomes your primary form of economy in the game, as Pokemon cannot attack without energy. There are 7 types of energy pertaining to the 7 Pokemon types in the card game. Basic energy comes in 6 forms: Grass, Fire, Water, Lightning, Fighting, and Psychic. There's also normal energy, which can be paid for with any type, represented by an asterisk. That brings us to the 3rd and final phase of your turn, the attack phase. In order to use an attack, a Pokemon must have the appropriate energy cards attached. For example, in order for Tangela here to use its Poison Whip, it requires 2 Grass and 1 normal energy. In this case, I have 2 Grass and 1 Water. As aforementioned, any energy type can be used to fulfill normal energy requirements. Poison Whip deals 10 damage to the opposing Pokemon and also poisons them. Poison is especially nasty as it will continue to deal damage to the Pokemon in question at the end of every turn. Attacks can have many different effects, and some may inflict other status ailments, such as sleep or confusion. When attacking, you'll also want to keep the target's weaknesses and resistances in mind. If a Pokemon is resistant to a certain type of attack, it'll take 30 less damage from it. Meanwhile, if it's weak against it, it'll take double damage instead. After a player attacks, their turn ends. Alternatively, you may simply end your turn without attacking if you are unable or unwilling to. Players will go back and forth taking turns like this until one of 3 end conditions is met. Firstly, if a player claims all their prize cards, they've won. Alternatively, a player may win by knocking out all their opponent's in-play Pokemon. Finally, a player loses if their deck runs out and they must draw a card, though there aren't any decks you can make to actively pursue milling in this game. And those are the basics of how you play. Although the game's rules have changed since then, this title is based off of the game's earlier years, so there's no reason to go into Synchro or Pendulum Monsters or anything like that. Wait a minute, that's not right. Of course, the video game itself is more than just playing matches. You'll be given the choice of one of 3 starter decks to begin with. You'll use it to play your early matches and can collect cards to either improve your beginning deck or build a new one. After most matches, you'll receive 2 booster packs. If only it were that easy in real life. You'll use these to go around to 8 gyms, and if you've played any of the mainline Pokemon games, you already know the gist of it. You have to collect badges from each of the 8 gym leaders, unlock the championship match, win against the Elite Four, be completely surprised to find out that your rival got there first, I'm not even going to bother with a spoiler warning there because you knew it was coming, and then defeat said rival to become the champion. In addition to the cards you'll gain through packs, you'll also have a small number of in-game promo cards you can collect through various means, such as participating in tournaments, trading cards with NPCs, or completing other side quests available to you. There's also 2 infamous Phantom cards that can only be obtained through Card Pop. What is Card Pop, you ask? On the Game Boy Color, and only the Color models, there's an infrared port on the top. A handful of games made limited use of this feature where you would point them to each other to play, a precursor to true wireless support. Although you could use the link cable to do a full duel against another player, and no, that is not another Yu-Gi-Oh joke, they actually call them duels in-game, Card Pop made use of the Game Boy Color's infrared port. When players performed a Card Pop, they would each randomly receive 1 card. Though not a bad idea in theory, the game included a unique version of Venusaur and Mew that could only be obtained through this method. Back in high school, I actually had a friend who let me borrow both her Game Boy and her copy of the game so that I could go ahead and try and get us these cards. The catch being that each file can only card pop with another file once. No big deal, I'd just restart the file and try again if we didn't get the cards we needed. I tried over a dozen times and never got even 1 of the Phantom cards. They're not especially powerful or anything, but it still feels very disappointing that the only reasonable way to obtain them is by cheating. Now that I'm using an emulator, I really should go back and do that on my save file. Presentation-wise, the game is alright. The interface for playing the card game itself is actually pretty good at getting as much data as it can onto the relatively low-resolution Game Boy screen, and it recreates the art from the official game, albeit rather simplified. Outside of the duels, it's passable, I suppose. It was pretty clear that the overworld wasn't given much attention. The first 2 rooms of each gym are almost identical, with only the one room where the gym leader is being unique. Despite being a pretty short game, character sprites are sometimes reused for different NPCs, and it feels like very little effort was really put into the maps. Sure, you're more focused on the battles anyways, but it would have been nice to see a little more effort put in, especially with how few maps there are to begin with. The game is pretty easy overall. The AI never uses any top tier decks, but it's a great way to try out all different strategies and play around with different decks that would simply get creamed in a competitive setting. Sure, you could just rush through the game with a Haymaker deck, which I did do in order to quickly replay it for the review, but the real fun comes from designing and trying out different decks. Want to do a damage swapping Psychic deck? Perhaps a poison heavy grass deck? Or maybe you want to burn through energy for powerful attacks with a fire deck. Going back and designing decks with a full collection is what really makes the game fun. Unlike the physical card game, you can always earn more packs if you're missing what you need. And even if you don't like building your own decks, the game gives you access to dozens of pre-constructed ones which you can unlock by gaining the gym badges. And if you do like designing your own decks, then you'll be happy to know that in addition to the 4 you can carry with you, you can also save up to 60 different decks. If a little cartridge from the 90s could manage this, why is Legacy the Duelist limited to 32 deck slots? But I digress. Pokemon Trading Card Game is a solid adaptation of its namesake card game and is still enjoyable to this day. In conclusion, I find it to be worthy of a respectable 8.2 out of 10. Pokemon Trading Card Game for the Game Boy Color is currently available in the 3DS eShop. If you don't want to hunt down a physical copy, you may want to take advantage of that soon before it shuts down in the near future. But what about you? What do you think of the Pokemon TCG? What trading card adaptations do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or posting points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.